One of the joys of traveling is someday interrupting another person's story about traveling to say something like, "Oh yeah, Amsterdam was great when I was there," and proceeding to share your highlights and travel tips, just as I'm about to do. We knew Amsterdam would be gritty and edgy, but we underestimated just how artistic and vibrant it would be. Foregoing an overpriced taxi scam, we decided to go to our hotel using public transportation and on foot, brazenly wheeling our luggage around like performance art tourists. We had 2 days to make the most of our stay, and we started with its best bargain, seeing the city by canal on an hour-long tour for only around €20 per person. While you can take a canal tour from different locations, a popular starting point is the artsy Jordan neighborhood, pronounced just like the famous basketball player, Michael Jordan. You might notice that some of the buildings and windows are slanted. That's because of gradual uneven sinking. We appreciated our tour guide's honest discussion about the history of Amsterdam. As with wealthy societies throughout the world, the Netherlands' prosperity was built heavily on colonialism and exploitation. That sounds great, you say? Well, I disagree. But much of the Netherlands' success also had to do with the innovative spirit of the Dutch people themselves, who found a way to thrive on floodlands 2 meters below sea level, turning a bad idea into less of a bad idea. These canals are supposed to be clean enough to swim in, with even the Queen doing so. But according to our guide, 15,000 bikes are retrieved from these waters each year, leaving us with more questions than answers. Like, how many of these are in there? We made our way to Dam Square, which sounds like an insult from the 1950s, but is actually the main public square of Amsterdam, with the Royal Palace and the Nieuwe Kerk, or New Church, among its main attractions. The Gothic Nieuwe Kerk dates back to the early 15th century, and is new to the extent that it's not the Oude Kerk, or Old Church. We just love going down strange alleys, huh?
I do.
After taking in a few more sights and sampling some of the famous local cheese, our attention turned to our dinner reservation, based on a recommendation from Rick Steves.
We are having a vegetarian rice table meal at Restaurant Blau.
Indonesian food.
Indonesian food.
After this extravagant, delightful meal, it was time to head back to our hotel. We stayed at the Tivoli, which is Amsterdam's oldest hotel. Given that we only had 2 days in Amsterdam, we think it was very much worth spending the extra money for a hotel right in the middle of the city, not only for these ultra-high-def canal views, but because it was a real time saver as we went to different points of interest. We also paid for multi-ride public transportation passes, but didn't end up using them much, since it wouldn't have saved too much time over just walking those particular routes. Most of what we wanted to see was within a 30-minute walking radius from our hotel, so that's how we chose to get around for the majority of our time. So right now we're walking along a canal, which in practice is quite a lot like walking where there's no canal. But it's just nicer. We discovered that Sunday morning was the best time to walk around without crowds. We almost had the streets to ourselves during some stretches. Our first stop for the day was the Van Gogh Museum. I've admired Van Gogh ever since learning that the pattern of swirls in the Starry Night closely resembles our modern understanding of turbulent flow in fluid dynamics. There's a fascinating TED Talk about this that I've linked to in the video description if you're curious. While this painting wasn't among the displays here, the exhibit had many of his other well-known works, as well as art from some of his contemporaries who were influential in his development. These guys loved selfies. The museum also highlighted Vincent's close relationship with his brother Theo. After both Van Gogh brothers had passed, Theo's wife, Johanna, took the responsibility to bring Vincent's work to greater public light. She succeeded. Before moving on to our next stop, the Rijksmuseum, we stopped for lunch at this outdoor market between the two museums. In retrospect, we should have had lunch somewhere else. The birds here were aggressive in their pursuit of food, ignoring basic decorum and frequently jumping onto picnic tables. Next, we walked a short distance to the Rijksmuseum, which is the National Museum of the Netherlands. It's widely considered a must-see attraction in Amsterdam, and we think it lived up to the hype. To start with, we thoroughly enjoyed the Asian art wing of the museum. with our favorite display being these temple guardians, not only for their imposing figures, but their unexpected function, to ward off evil by crushing ignorance with knowledge. This was a contrast with some less enlightened forms of conflict resolution. You think I could swing that around?
Of course it could. I like this chainmail actually on the collar. It's like the polo of the 14 to 1500s.
There was just so much to see. Like this map of Westeros, or this shot glass, or this participation trophy. Here's the heartwarming story of an unlikely and adorable friendship. I thought for sure I knew a ventriloquist when I saw one, but this turned out to be Mary with little Jesus. My bad. What I've shared is but a fraction of the knowledge you could gain in person, but at a fraction of the cost. It all culminated in the grand finale, a painting in its own special section, The Night Watch by Rembrandt. As great as the museum was on the inside, I enjoyed the outside even more. With its signature XXX marking, Amsterdam is letting us clearly know that this place is for adults. Man, this reminds me of what I looked like in college. With its rich history and so much art, it's easy to see why Amsterdam is such an immensely popular tourist destination. We saw some interesting sights on the way to our final stop, the famous red light district. I'm thinking this is a porta potty in the water, so I'm not really sure if the Queen knows that there's a porta potty in the water when she's swimming here. It was surprisingly difficult to identify exactly when we got to this district since it kind of blended in with the surrounding streets, but there were some signs, like these Super Mario stores. If you come to the red light district, hold on to your child. This appeared to be the middle section of a Venn diagram. We visited the red light district before dark to avoid potential rowdiness that can accompany business hours. In 2023, Amsterdam launched an ad campaign to discourage tourism from young British men who are tired of carrying a stiff upper lip back home and looking to let loose here. Look, more red, but this time it's a church. We were looking for the red light district and here we are. We found God? Call me a nerd, but this was honestly the most exciting thing here. I love architecture, and not knowing this famous attraction was right in the middle of the red light district, I was thrilled to have stumbled upon the Oude Kerk. This medieval cathedral dates back to the 13th century, which predates our modern day by several centuries. Red lights and church bells, the special combo of Amsterdam. There was much more we could have done if we had more time, like visit Vondelpark or take the ferry to North Amsterdam. But our time here was drawing to a conclusion. Amsterdam is a dirty, dirty city. Also, it has a lot of trash. We woke up at 7. We've made it to 8 o'clock basically. Very active day. Not like 7 to 8 in the morning. I mean like 13 hours. 13 hours of walking. We found dinner at Café de Jaren, right next to our hotel. There's a bird behind me eating hummus. The service was incredibly slow, but the food was good, and these views were the perfect way to end our time in Amsterdam. We end today's journey with a segment called Travel-Sized Tales, miniature stories for people on the go who want to enjoy literature, but not too much. In his younger days, Clyde was known for one thing above all, his fearlessness, and to prove it, he became a snake handler. In his older days, one-eyed Clyde was known for one thing above all, his poor life choices. See you next time.